To say there is an awful lot of misconception regarding the carbon cycle, this would be an understatement and a political ferret. And if you do understand that we are all made out of the same stardust, this video might be for you. A short disclaimer: if you hold a radical position on environment, this could really threaten your worldview, so you have been advised. So what's the whole green lung story? Well, when I was young, I was told that we have to preserve the rainforest because the trees make our oxygen. And it sounded straight. I mean, everybody knows that the tree takes CO2 out of the air and water and dirt out of the ground, gobbles it up and makes useful stuff out of that, like wood and leaves and sometimes stuff to eat. But if we go into detail, it's a bit more complicated. But all we need here is about 1 minute of chemistry, so no panic, all we need is your common sense. So what green plants do, in essence, is a process we call photosynthesis, where they take 6 carbon dioxide out of the air, combine it with 6 water, and it of course takes some energy, and the energy is taken from the sun, and then they produce sugar and 6 oxygen molecules. So if you're a skeptic, just hold the video and count the atoms. It's the same thing, left and right of the arrow. You can of course do it the other way around. You can burn the sugar with some oxygen and you get water and carbon dioxide and some stored energy. That's the stuff that burns your finger when you put the finger in the flame. So, or you can let the stuff just rot. Some of the carbon will become soil, but a substantial amount of it will become airborne CO2. They forget this always in these pictures, it seems. Well, the sugar is just a base from what we start. Plants construct complex things out of that. But in the end, it all comes back to this. And if we are thinking about oil, just remember that oil is just a sludge that stays if you destroy the organic components. Just rip some stuff out of these sugar molecules and you have the components of oil. Well, in a nutshell it is. So that's the chemistry part. Jump into biology. Imagine an open plain with some grass on it. Now take all the planes and weigh it. Let's say this is about 1 ton, now wait some years. Now you have some bigger plants and bushes and so on. Weigh them. The weight will have been increased. Well, what does it mean? It means that there is less water and CO2 around, because that's the stuff the plants are made of. Now wait some, say 1,000 years. Now you have a forest with such a density that the mass of water and carbon dioxide stored inside is enormous. But if you measure it now and year after year, you will find there are no variations in that. The weight stays constant. So does the rainforest produce oxygen? In absolute terms, no. Because you see, if one tree falls down and rots or burns or whatever, the stored CO2 and water gets out, but the same spot will be filled within some decades. And this happens non-stop. And there are a bunch of reasons why it is batshit crazy to destroy nature and especially rainforest. But the oxygen story might be a noble lie, but still it is a lie. So you have to understand that the amount of atoms on Earth stays roughly the same. I mean, we get a bit from outer space via things like asteroids, and we lose some, like helium for instance, to outer space. But to assume that the amount of carbon stays more or less constant, that's more right than wrong. Let's go to humans. So we as a species, we don't do photosynthesis. We eat once living stuff that used to do that. So aka plants, or we eat animals and these animals have eaten plants. So in the end it all comes down to sugar, but we ourselves are not made out of sugar or variations out of that, but the same biological principles apply. Basically we're still made of atoms. A typical human of 70 kilograms consists of 7 by 10 to the power of 27 atoms. That's a 7 followed by 27 zeros. You can count them if you want. And it's 2/3 of that is hydrogen, and about 1/10 of it is carbon. So if you weigh not 70 kilograms but 140, you use double the atoms. The atoms are missing elsewhere in the world because remember, the amount of atoms on Earth stays roughly the same. So if you get some weight, say 10 kilograms, you bind more or less 1 kilogram of carbon. So on a very basic level, we are not all too different from trees and other plants. We are made from the same components with similar ratios. If you build up a human, you need carbon, and the carbon is now not able to float around as CO2. Therefore, your children make O2. Sounds silly? Yeah, because it is silly. It's the same silly as stating that trees produce oxygen. So, what does this mean to our life in the beginning? Well, the green lie story should trick you into believing that burning stuff that was millions of years under the surface, aka coal and oil, is not a problem because the trees, they deal with that. Well, they don't. What we do is recreating the atmospheres the dinosaurs used to breathe, which is not absolutely bad for plants because CO2 is a fertilizer for them. For us, that's a different story, and I won't go into depth today because there are a lot of wrongs on either side of the hysterics. But for once, not living in a concrete desert with no green everywhere, that has benefits. So the only way to reduce CO2 is to cut the rainforest, inclusive all the animals inside, shred it into small pieces, put it into the holes we left when we poured all the oil out, and make sure it can't react with the atmosphere. Then you have trapped the CO2. If you then grow a tree, you have reduced the CO2 level. But a solution that sounds better than this is mow grassland, dry the stuff and dig it in areas where they have water problems. The ground is then quite able to hold water and you can then plant stuff on that. Perhaps this should be our exported help for desert areas. Grass, tons and tons of grass. This would really help them. But who cares? We don't even care about our own soil going to hell. However, the notion, just plant a tree and everything is okay, that's a lie. It doesn't work like that. It all comes down to counting atoms. But as we all know, counting was never the strong suit of politicians or ideologists. So if you were about to plant a tree, do it anyway. They produce shadow in the summer, they are nice to look at, and if you choose the right one, they provide you even with food. I mean, they are great plants, I wouldn't miss mine. But if you thought that this tree will compensate you for your gas guzzler, I'm sorry, it doesn't work like that. So as always, thanks for listening that far. Why not confuse some environmentalists by sharing this on social media? If you like it, like it. If don't, comment it. Subscribe for more and have a great day.